Good morning. On this chilly Monday morning, I'm here with Bertho, which is from Alto, and one of the well-knownest red wine estates within the country. Actually, we're chatting now earlier about with regards to how old Alto actually is this year, and we said 100 years, which is quite a long time for South African wine. So, Bertho, it's lovely being here. It's just very chilly.
It's this time of the year, so we need the chill for the let the branch rest and everything. So it's good to have some.
So we're doing a Come Wine With Us in July in Joburg with Alto, and that's taking place on 24th and 25th of July, and we nearly sold out. So we're very fortunate about that because people are always excited to drink red wine in winter. So yes. But from my side, how it all started, I think I met Bertho in Stellenbosch.
Yes.
For a braai or two.
Yes.
Quite a few braai or two.
Many moons ago.
And it was much fun, and we always had good wine, and Bertho made sure of that. And since then, you've evolved working at Alto, and tell us about the background. How did it all start?
Yes, well, Alto, besides the fact that we are celebrating our 100th sort of anniversary this year, we've only had 5 winemakers in the past, and I worked on a couple of other estates before, and then my father was the winemaker before me, and I took over from him in 2015, 1st of May 2015.
How long was he here?
He was here since 2000, so probably about 15 years. 15 vintages. So he's only been on two farms, the one Nedlingshof on the other side of Stellenbosch, and then Alto. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. And then your father brought you underneath his wing, and did you do some prac here? Or what was your history? Did you go and study at? I presume.
Yes, I studied at Stellenbosch, and then couldn't find a job back then. It was tough. The industry was going through a lot of changes. So my first job was actually a viticulturist at Citrusdal Cellar, so it's quite a drive from here. I learned a lot, I must say. I've got a big love for viticulture as well.
Yes.
And it plays a fundamental role in winemaking. Everything starts there. It's a cliche, but it does. And then I moved on to Kleine Zalse in Stellenbosch, and then after Kleine Zalse I went to Boschendal, worked for DGB, and then went through all the steps to go here, to come to Alto.
Okay, great. And red wine, has it always been in your blood?
You know, I actually miss white wine. I still love white wines. I think we produce some of the best in the world. But you think, if you think about it, actually, if someone asks you, what was your favorite wine you've ever had in your life? Not that I can pinpoint one, but I think 95-98% of the time it will be red wine.
Yes.
So people tend to talk more about red wines. I think white wines are here. It's classic. It's very good. It's but the public tend to talk about it for 1 year, 2 years, and then you sort of move over to new vintages, where wines that you can remember that are great from great vintages, they tend to, you can have a conversation in 10 years time about the, let's say, Cabernet that you tasted or whatever, and you can actually go back and still drink the wine and it will still be good. So.
Yeah. Old world, new world styles type of things. In a nutshell, what are we doing here? Are you taking inspiration from, let's say, France?
Yeah.
Where do you draw your inspiration from?
I think if you look at our terroir and our wine styles in Stellenbosch, and some other areas might differ, but for Stellenbosch, I think we are sort of a good combination between the new and old wines. I think we've come a long way from having really old world style wines in the 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s, and I think then we moved over much more towards the modern style of wine, if you think of Shiraz, for instance. But I think for us as a South African industry, we are still where we are, where we want to go. Yeah, we are sort of in between, and that's what I like about it, because you can have all the freshness and the refine and the sort of full rich fruit from the new world, but you can also have that classic elegance, and you can build those two elements into the same wine. And I think that's where my sort of midway lie at the moment. Yeah, I would like to produce something like that.
Do you prefer blends, or do you like your straight up cabs and Shiraz and so forth?
I think a blend is probably the perfect wine that you can produce. But for us at the moment, we're focusing a lot on Cabernet Sauvignon. We have about 50% of the vineyards are planted with Cabernet Sauvignon. And then we also focus on a single variety Shiraz. And of course, then we have the Alto Rouge, which has always been a blend, and it will be a blend from now on and continue.
And that's a set recipe that you follow
I would
every
say
year,
it's,
or is it a bit of
It's not completely set or cast in stone.
Sorry, this is a farm, by the way.
Okay. So it's not completely cast in stone. The blend will always differ through the year, but the style of the wine will be the same. The wine's DNA will be the same.
Yes.
So some years we have the backbone of that is Cabernet Franc and Shiraz and Cabernet Sauvignon, a little bit of Merlot, a little bit of Petit. The percentages will always differ, and obviously the styles from year to year, but I think the DNA of the wine should be the same, and you will always get the same style, fruit, everything in the wine. Yeah.
Yes. And consistency is key. I mean, how many liters do you actually produce of Alto Rouge?
Well, let me put it that way. We sell about just under 2,000 bottles of that a day.
A day?
Yes. So you can
in
make the
all, in
calculation.
trade, in...
Yeah, and it's mostly sold in South Africa. We have one or two other markets that we export the wine to, but focusing mainly on South Africa, Namibia, Botswana. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
That's 2,000 every single day of the year.
Yeah, let's say 1,700 and something. So
okay, I'll make the math
very, very close to that. Yeah. No.
Okay, awesome. And you are born and bred Stellenbosch.
Yes, I was born on Neertlingshof actually, or not in the hospital, but then grew up on Neertlingshof the first part of my life.
So you come from a wine farm as well?
I come from a wine farm, yeah. My grandfather was also a viticulturist or a farm manager on Neertlingshof, and then my father was the first winemaker on Neertlingshof, and then obviously he moved from Neertlingshof here. And so the love for wine was started at a young age. Yeah. So
did you also poke your bottle into the bottles when you were a child and then tasted the wine and loved it?
Yeah, I think we did all the stuff that you're not allowed to say, but yes, I think we did.
I actually still have pictures of myself doing it with bottles of wines. My mother's got it at home. I must actually one time bring it, and I was literally with white wine. I loved white wine. I still love it. And poking, and it's just part of it.
Yeah,
I mean, I was chatting to Isel about it the other day, and she said, what's lovely about it, we grew up with wine where we were sort of used to, like on a Sunday you had a little bit, and you were taught about it, and the education around it. Yeah. And
it's funny that you mention it actually, because I mentioned to my children the other day, I said, listen, because they always ask for a slicky, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And then I told them, listen, but I think we should start or get the whole thing going again of Sunday lunch together, and you have a small glass of wine, because that's what we used to have.
That's what we did.
You have that, and sometimes it's the wine tastes better than other Sundays, but it was a learning curve from young, and you appreciate those things much more now than you used to back then. So
and I mean, we started with sweet wine.
Yes,
I can remember.
Of course.
Bietjie soet wyn there at the end, and then it's just like say bietjie hoenderkop, maar as jy okay weer.
Yeah, no, I think it should be part of our whole. I think everyone should give their children small, introduce them to something that's good, and it's I mean, it's actually you need to do it. It's important. Talking
about that, tell me, what is your, if I may ask, what's your challenges in the wine industry in South Africa?
I think there's some stuff I'm not allowed to say.
That's fine. Just think fine now, but overall,
I think it's agriculture in South Africa is a challenge. It is not. Well, first of all, not the most agriculture friendly environment that we actually farm in, and that is nature and the South African, the situation we have. But I think if you focus on the positive things, there's more than enough positive things to take out.
100% agree, yeah.
And if you can turn all your energy, all the negative energy into positive energy, I just want to make the best wine. And the wine that people will remember. That's true. Bottom line. Yeah. And then the bank must also balance at the end of the day. So it's nice to make good wine, but you must make something
do you have some friends in the bank industry?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that's good.
But fortunately, I don't worry too much. I just manage the finances, but it's not my money, so it's okay. But I mean, it's all part of the business nowadays. I mean, those days of making wine and it's just you and the farm. Those days are over. You are a financial manager. You're accountable for anything that happens on the farm. And from cutting or mowing the grass or mowing the lawn right through to customer complaints.
Totally.
And you need to be able to answer each and everything in between. So
what would you say is the most crucial thing in that chain? to always have a lookout for? If you got from your experience being with Alto, what do you think is, where do you really know that that's how you're managing your wine well?
I think it's satisfaction from customers at the end of the day. I think it's the appreciation that people show when they taste the wine, or when you see a picture somewhere, yes, and it has a bottle of Alto on, or something like that. For me is it's priceless. It's not necessarily awards and medals and whatever. It's day-to-day consumers that actually they just love the wine, and it's good to hear that. And being in the last couple of years, we've put a lot of emphasis on Rouge again, which is a wine that sells at a very cheap price.
But the quality is good.
And quality and consistency is what's key to that wine. So if we can just make it better and better and better, and better for the customer, because the customer, not everyone can buy 300, 400 rand a bottle wine every day and enjoy it, but I want to offer them something that they can drink and they will know it is Stellenbosch and it's quality.
Yeah, I had a sneak peek. You had a rosé inside here, but it's a Cabernet rosé, which is quite interesting. Rosé, Tell me about that.
It's only available from the cellar door.
Wines here that we're tasting. I'm really enjoying this. Was it a cab?
No, this was the Shiraz. The first one was the Shiraz. So this is the 2016 Shiraz.
Yes. Why do you like this one so much?
You know, it's my first vintage that I did here on my own, and what I like about the wine is 16 was quite a challenge because it was a dry vintage. It's got a beautiful texture to it, almost a grainy sort of tannin, which I really enjoy. And this wine, very funny about this wine, but you don't always find a wine that goes well with spicy food.
I was about to ask you about food.
I promise you, it's so amazing. The other evening we had deboned chicken thighs, and they were marinated in a Prego sauce, and they are nice and spicy. And so I tried it, and this wine was just fantastic with that. So
I will definitely try it with
it was
food.
unbelievable. And usually it doesn't work. I mean, Shannon's work, and maybe a richer Chardonnay, Gewürztraminer, those type of wines work, but not red. But
I will tell Amori about it, because Amori is doing your food for our event at Van der Linde, which is in Linden, which is a lovely restaurant.
Fantastic.
And it's brand new, and she's doing something with chicken. So maybe I'll let her know as well. It likes a bit of spice.
We must just make sure that she gets a bottle of wine. Maybe
I did send her already. I sent her samples. She's tasted all your wines. I'll tell her recommendations from the winemaker.
Okay. No, good.
This is lovely.
We don't have a spittoon, so we have to finish this
before
we get to the Cabernet. So Cab, obviously, Cab is, as I said, close to art. So we put a lot of effort in the wine, put a lot of effort in the vineyards to get really the best that we can. It's a heartbreak sort of variety as well, because you can have a fantastic vintage, and then the wine, it's tough. It's easy to produce a good quality Shiraz, but with Cab you need to start with the right ingredients. Unfortunately, we have that in this area, but you must taste all the time. It's a very,
it can be hit or miss.
Yes,
pretty much
it
what
can,
you're saying.
It can be definitely.
That's a lot of risk then, eh?
Yeah, it is, but fortunately we have a lot of building blocks here, so we handle each and every block separate. Even in some vineyards we also do separate harvesting there. Everything is kept separate right until the end, and then we have
then you blend it.
Then we blend it. Yeah, so it's a combination of probably 20 different barrel lots that we have. Ranging from.
So in a way, you are blending.
Yes,
you're just blending the same variety.
Exactly, you're just blending the same variety. But that's what makes wine interesting. Is you need to find that balance. And people say blending is not always between cultivars. It can be a little bit. This has got a little bit more wood. That's got a little bit more richness. That's a little bit more fruit. So. Now you have more than enough wine, so you have to choose now. So it's also difficult.
Barrels, French, American, or just French?
In the Cab, we have about 100% French, of which 65% is new. In the Shiraz, I use a little bit of American oak with that. A little bit of blonde toast barrels. It just gives you. American oak for me is like salt and pepper with food. Too much is overpowering, but just the right amount makes the wine better. So
well, Bertho, on that note, it's getting cold and we are pretty much on our time. So thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. We are looking forward to your event end of
can't
July.
wait.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be fun.
It's going to be
So
fun.
yeah, to everyone, those of you that hasn't booked, there's only like a few tickets left if you're in the Joburg area on 24th and 25th of July. We hope to see you there. Cheers.
Cheers.